Another week gone by in the NFL. More of the players that we have super hyped all season leaving the games. It's the Fantasy Forecast. Producer, hit that button. Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Forecast with Grindberg and Bigz. This is the weekend recap and waiver wire show for week 11, where we tell you who to go pick up, you go pick them up, and then they leave the game early with an injury. We have given you Jackson Dart. Left the game. We have given you Aronde Gadsden. Left the game. We have given you Cam Scatabo. Out for the season. It seems like every guy that we hype just gets hurt. How you doing, Mike?
Well, now that you put it that way, I mean, it's not all doom and gloom here, Bigz. I feel like, yes, those three players really hurt our fantasy lineups. And, I mean, getting pulled early in a game, hopefully both those guys, Gadsden and Dart, have a clean bill of health moving forward. We're going to, get some reports in the next 24 to 48 hours. So stick to that. Get, the lowdown. Make sure to follow us here on FSAN to get all the news you're going to need for these guys like Jackson Dart. And, we're looking at this week. It's been a crazy week. It was an exciting week. It started out in Berlin, Bigz. How are you doing, man?
It started out with the Raiders upsetting performance against Denver. And I
didn't realize that was a football game. They counted that as a professional game, right?
It was winnable. The Raiders could have won. Ashton Genty broke off like a huge 60-something yard touchdown run, but Dante Thornton got called on a ticky-tack holding call that the refs should have kept the laundry in their pockets, and the Raiders could have won that game. And then San Jose Sharks hosting your Winnipeg Jets. Sharks 7 wins in their last 10 games on an absolute heater with a young squad. Good things are coming, but that's not football.
Yeah, well, let's talk about football, and let's talk about that first game on Sunday morning, and what a game that was. If you were up early enough, I know Bigz, you're the West Coaster, so you probably were still in La La Land when that game was going on. Sure. Were you now?
Game started at 6:30 a.m. my time. Before I started working at my job, where I work and close on Saturday night before Sunday morning, I would get up for those games. And now, because of my Breakfast with Bigz show, Breakfast with Bigz, by the way, Sunday mornings, 8:30 a.m. West Coast time, 11:30 a.m. East Coast time. Because of that, I tend to sleep until right before the show.
Makes total sense. Well, yeah. For the viewers that did have the opportunity to watch that game, what a game it was. Jonathan Taylor turns Germany into his personal highlight reel for the first ever regular season game in Berlin. It turned into the Jonathan Taylor show, the Colts superstar running back. He just didn't play. He performed history. 244 yards, 3 touchdowns, including an 83-yard walk-off sprint in overtime. Look at what he did. He etched himself alongside sporting legends. Not only did he do that, he broke Edgerrin James' franchise touchdown record and electrified the international crowd. By the time the Colts sealed the win, Taylor wasn't just running for yards, he was running for legacy. Now, 17 touchdowns on the year. He delivered a top 4 rushing performance in Colts history. Now Shane Steichen leaned into the hot hand, feeding him 6 times on the game-winning drive. He's averaging nearly 28 PPR points per game, Bigz, almost 3 more than any other running back. Is he officially the RB1 you have for the rest of the way? We talked about it last week, about his upcoming schedule getting tougher. Now, are you sticking to your guns on that? Or with the bye week, giving him an extra chance to rest up for the home stretch? Are we locking him up as a matchup proof from here on out for JT?
Sure, why not? Yes to all of your questions. I mean, I'm gonna excuse me, I'm going to maintain what I said last week. There are a handful of running backs who, over the course of the next 5-6 weeks, are going to be like our top 6 running backs. That's not going to change. Calling somebody an RB1, that changes week to week. Jonathan Taylor, the improvements that the Colts have made to the offensive line and the way that Daniel Jones has played have led to Jonathan Taylor being able to stay fairly healthy and play to his talent level. That's great. And we've known Jonathan Taylor is one of the elite running backs for years. So that doesn't change. Any given week, he's a must start. There are 5 or 6 guys like that. Devon Achane had a huge game. Jahmyr Gibbs is in that conversation. Bijan Robinson is in that conversation. There are 5 or 6 guys that are must starts, RB1s. They're gonna stay in your lineup, and we're not going to quibble. I'm not going to take Jonathan Taylor out. He's not going to find himself on a sits show based on a matchup. And it's not going to happen. He's an RB1, and then that's for sure. That's going to stay.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a tear, and it's pretty historic what he's doing right now, and impressive as that comes. And let's move on to our next story here, Bigz. And impressive. And I'm, been waiting for this to happen for quite some time. And we finally got it. The breakout performance we've all been waiting for. I've been waiting for. Fantasy managers like me alike that have been paying attention to the New England Patriots backfield while rookie exploded. TreVeyon Henderson, 147 yards, 2 touchdowns, including a highlight reel runs, 69 yards, boom, 55 yards, and the Patriots knocked off the Buccaneers 28-23 and look like legitimate contenders right now in the AFC, taking on one of the NFC's best teams in the Bucs, and it looked pretty handily too. It was back and forth for a bit, but you could just tell that the Patriots were well ahead of this one, and back-to-back games, setting new career high. He's got a growing role behind a Mike Vrabel offense, and he looks like the rookie running back who could quietly swing playoff races down the stretch. If he's still on waivers, this might be the time. I mean, I'm not sure if he'll ever be there, but if he's there, get him right away. Maybe those shallower leagues, but TreVeyon Henderson just dropped 147 yards, Bigz, 2 scores. Giving that offense some real juice. When Ramondre Stevenson comes back, what do you think happens? Do you think Vrabel sticks to the hot hand in Henderson or goes back to the vet to kill that rookie momentum we're finally and been waiting to see?
Well, he's got to stick with the rookie. Ramondre is toast, and we've known that. I was replying to somebody on Twitter yesterday, and they were asking, or they were saying that TreVeyon Henderson finally was given the keys to the castle or whatever, and it popped up into my head that Lunch Pail Larison, that's my new nickname for him.
Nice.
If he had remained healthy, I don't think that I think that they would have gone to Larison a lot more than Henderson. But let's pump the brakes on Henderson for just a second. So in week 9 against Atlanta, he had 14 carries for 55 yards and a 3.93 yards per carry. He also had four catches on 6 targets. That's pretty great. He had 14 carries again. So his carry share has stayed level for the past couple weeks, but you take away 125 rushing yards on 2 plays, and he is down to 22 yards on 12 carries. So we know that he's explosive. We saw that at Ohio State, and he can turn nothing into a 55-yard ramble or a 69-yard run. But between the tackles, he's pretty stuffed. And so they're going to need to keep going to Ramondre. They have to find a way to get the ball into TreVeyon's hands 20 times a game simply because of his explosiveness. I was reading a stat, Kyle Williams on his 72-yard touchdown catch. Shout out Kyle Williams, one of my biggest targets going into the season, who hasn't really done much until yesterday. Hit 21.8 miles per hour on his 72-yard run. Just absolutely flew by everybody. That was the fastest speed recorded so far in 2025 in the NFL. And then on his 55-yard run, TreVeyon Henderson beat that and was over 22 miles an hour. So young kids in New England are super fast and explosive, and that's what it takes to win ball games. So get the ball into his hands, and also get Henderson into your lineups.
And I would love to see what he's kind of known for too, is them using him more in the passing game, where he can be a little bit more explosive out of the edge, where he doesn't have to run between the tackles as much. And hopefully, that evens out. Maybe those 14 carries turns to maybe 12, and he gets maybe 5 to 10 looks in the passing game eventually. Hopefully that could be the thing, and that gives him more of that Jahmyr Gibbs-esque run. He looked like him yesterday. Be great to see him catch the ball a little bit as well. So maybe that's where his upside can be, and not have to lean so much down the middle and use that smaller frame and get into harm's way as much, right?
Absolutely.
All right, man, let's move on to the next one here, Bigz. And another one here, Shough time and the Big Easy, and rookie quarterback sparks life and the fantasy value into the Saints. The Saints may have found something in their rookie quarterback, Tyler Shough, and fantasy managers. We should be paying attention even after a rocky first start. Shough came out firing in week 10 against Carolina, throwing for 282 yards and a touchdown, more than any Saints quarterback managed all season. And he did it with confidence and command, hitting Chris Olave for a 62-yard bomb and connecting with Juwan Johnson on a 52-yard strike to move the change. From a fantasy angle, his emergence is a ripple effect machine. Olave finally looked like a wide receiver one again. Juwan Johnson continues to thrive in the red zone, and suddenly the Saints offense isn't one to void out. Look at what he did to Kamara. He looked okay again. He got 82 yards. He ran the ball a lot, and 3 catches for 32 yards as well. So making some relevance here, Bigz, and Shough put on a show, and we saw Olave Johnson pop because of it. With the Saints heading into a bye, are we buying into this real fantasy turnaround led by the rookie quarterback, or do we think defenses will catch up once they've got a little bit of tape on him?
Well, we've been observing Shough's arm throughout his injury history. His college career was riddled with injuries. He spent a long time in college football simply because he couldn't stay healthy and be on the field. But his arm talent was real, and we saw that at the Senior Bowl. Started talking about it throughout the offseason. You and I, in our Undroppables League, in our Omega League, we drafted him with I want to say the 3-1.
3-1.
And he was named the starter in the first week that we absolutely necessarily needed him in our starting lineup. And then this week he helped lead us to a win. I think he's real, and he's the Saints are going to be okay. Their offensive line isn't great. They do have some weapons, and Tyler Shough is. I was really surprised that they went with Spencer Rattler early season instead of Shough, but it just took Shough a little time to get in there. And now that he's there, I think he's not giving up that job unless he gets hurt again.
Well, actually, it might have been better for him to sit on the bench a bit, help him, give Spencer Rattler those growing pains that you see behind the scenes, what needed to get done. And it only took him a game to really get accustomed to what he needed to see. The game slowed down to him in his second one. And maybe more is good to come here after the bye week, where he can assess his performance even more so and come out swinging after some rest and a good look here. So looking pretty good here for the Saints now. I mean, not good, but a little less gloomy than it was a week ago. Now, Bigz, let's move on to another huge storyline, and that's Stafford, scorching hot, the 37-year-old quarterback who's torching the league, and he's carrying fantasy rosters, the late quarterback gem, aging like a fine whiskey, and right now he's serving fantasy managers straight up wins. In week 10, he dismantled the 49ers defense for 280 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, his third straight game with at least 4 scores and no picks. That makes him the first quarterback in NFL history to pull that streak off. He's now thrown for 23 touchdowns without an interception on a run. And I think he's only thrown 2 interceptions all season here. So looking great for Matthew Stafford. And from a fantasy lens, he's on a heater, just as impressive, just as historic. He's been weekly top 3 quarterback over the last month. The chemistry with Puka and Davante Adams has turned that offense into a matchup nightmare, especially in the red zone. And at age 37, he's giving a prime year production MVP. He's averaging 25 points per game, Bigz, 22 straight touchdowns, no picks. That's MVP stuff, both real life and fantasy. And at this point, he's locked in at a top 5 at the rest of the season for me. Are you buying the dip on this 37-year-old right now for the rest of the season?
Absolutely, and there's no dip. We saw it coming. You talked about it in our preseason shows that you were super high on Stafford. He's playing at a level that's it's rarefied air. Not a lot of people do that. But this Rams offense is humming. The only competition they have right now in the NFC pretty much is Seattle. Looks like the Super Bowl contender is going to come out of that NFC West division, and Stafford's real, especially with Puka and Davante both on the field. And Kyron getting the job done. We knew that. We knew it was coming.
And they have the luxury right now. We saw Davante Adams get pulled from that game a bit early, so we're going to have to keep an eye on his injury as well. But I think they're just being able to do that with precautionary. You're up, or you have the game in hand. You know what's going on here, and if needed, they're back in it. I think the same thing happened to Puka before the bye there, and back at it. And this Rams team looks legit. They look like a front runner here, like you mentioned, Bigz, and I'm all in with them as well, as I've been drafting a lot of them this offseason. So you want to mention one more story here? I mean, it was late. It was. Just sucks, and I didn't want to talk about it, but we got to talk about the Jackson Dart concussion, and we're not sure quite what's going to happen here. Brian Dable did get fired today as well, so a lot of things happening here. What's your ear to the ground tell you right now about the Jackson Dart situation, and what your advice is for fantasy owners right now about the situation? We're just going to have to hold tight and see. Hopefully it's not too severe of a concussion.
No, it's a sit and wait situation. One of the things is they got rid of Dable, but Jackson Dart still was the leading rusher among quarterbacks, and that was the thing that we pumped in all of our Jackson Dart hype, was his running ability, and he is getting 10 points per game fantasy wise from his legs, and that's definitely a floor that you want to take advantage of. He's obviously a hold. He's obviously an IR target if he misses some time. It sucks, but it's going to happen. If you throw your body into it, and it's something that he's going to have to learn over the course of his career, kind of like Lamar Jackson has, kind of like Josh Allen. Pick your spots, use your legs as a weapon, but pick your spots and don't be so gung ho about it. We already watched his teammate Cam Scatabo go out, who has kind of a similar mentality, a juggernaut mentality, and they're down Malik Neighbors too. So just be more careful is the lesson to Jackson Dart. And in fantasy, don't move. You have him, keep him.
Absolutely. And then same news, some rough news there for Rhonda Gatson late in the afternoon yesterday. He banged knees with opposing, I think it was a linebacker potentially, and just didn't look good. There was a smack, but some experts, say it doesn't look too serious. Others say it might be. So we're going to have to wait.
He bruised his quadriceps muscle.
Okay, so a little bit more information has come out. So what do you think that what's the timeline on that? Is he going to miss some time, you think?
No, I don't think so. I bruised my quadriceps muscle in Canton.
Doing what?
Sliding down a flight of stairs into a closet door.
It was a game we were playing, folks. It was Bigz broke the door and he won the game. All right. What we didn't win here is
next week. So
awesome. You were back in the lineup. Yeah. All right. So let's get into our studs and duds for the weekend. We'll power through them because we want to do that.
Well, mine's quick, and you can tell from the fact that I'm wearing this big L hat. Shout out LSU Tigers. and this is the hat that I put on for my losers. I'm not putting on the winner's hat because I told you to sit Chris Olave, and he finished as wide receiver 6 as of Monday. I told you to sit Travis Etienne. He finishes RB12 as of Monday. I told you to start David Montgomery. He finishes RB27. And I told you to start Gadsden, and he left the game early. And right now he's sitting at tight end 26. So from the starts and sit shows, I did absolutely horrible 0-4. 0-4. But my one saving grace is I was asked a question on Breakfast with Bigz about who to start, and of the ones that were asked, based on my gut, I said start Dalton Schultz, and he's sitting at tight end 4 for the week, with Goddard and Musgrave to play on Monday night. So that's a pretty good situation for him, and so I will take that as a big win.
So why isn't the hat on? Give yourself some.
No, I'm good. But I had a terrible week. I'd been doing pretty good for a while, and then this week just absolutely garbage. But the funny thing to me is that my starts and sits calls are based on data, and the Dalton Schultz was a gut move. I didn't look at anything. I didn't look it up. I was just like, yeah, go with Schultz. Like it was a gut call that worked out. And the data, the studying, the deep dive into, statistical analysis and everything, those are the ones that didn't work out.
If we could just predict what weeks those gut calls are going to come through and our data won't, then everything would be just gravy.
Right. Schultz had a terrible week himself. Well, it wasn't that terrible. He said to start Jameson Williams, and Jameson Williams had a breakout game. Parker Washington, I haven't checked. He said to start him. He said to sit Breece Hall, and that was a mistake. And then he said to sit Marvin Harrison Jr. too. So
yeah,
iffy, but still better than me.
Yeah, and I was iffy too. Chalk call there with BTJ didn't end up playing. I was worried about the ankle and didn't end up working against a tough defense in the Texans. And Cardinals running backs didn't get any stuffage there. They did not get anything on the ground, but I was expecting maybe some Trey Benson action after their bye, and that would have been a more of a bolder call, but a win there for me. I told everybody to start Rico, and he had a decent game, got a touchdown, didn't get the production I would have liked to have seen. So with how much of a chalk call that was, I'll take that as a wash. And Ladd had a great game. I was expecting a good game from him. He had the best game in a lower scoring affair. So I think Ladd ended up finishing a top 5 this week headed into Monday night. So a decent call there for me, and another decent week on the chalk here. So let's get into our waiver wire, Bigz.
Did you see Tucker Fisk had a catch?
Yes, I did.
They showcased him. That was awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right.
Tucker Fisk, hometown boy.
There it is. All right, man. Let's get into our waiver wire pickups for the week. And let's get into let's start us off there, Bigz, with your tight end quarterback. Well, looks like you got a quarterback. Let's
we talked about it top of the show. I'm going to say go to your waiver wire and pick up Tyler Shough. He's currently 98% available on ESPN. He's only on 2% of rosters. He's got some upside. And if you have a situation where you have Jackson Dart and he's going to miss a week, Tyler Shough is as good a replacement quarterback as anybody. Go grab him.
That's awesome. And I was gonna put your spotlight on my map, just in spite, but I was gonna let you have your glory. So we're gonna leave your wide receiver duo for the end here for your spotlights, Bigz. And okay. I'm gonna talk about a tight end here that I think goes hand in hand with Biggs's quarterback, and that's Juwan Johnson. And if you look, he's still available in a decent amount of leagues right now, folks. And if he's available in your Yahoo or ESPN, 35 to 47% in Yahoo. So still quietly, largely available. He's quietly become the safety blanket and the red zone hammer for the Saints. Shough's been taking over under center. We talked about him in depth earlier in the show. Bigz just talked about him. With the departure of Rashid Shaheed, he shipped off to Seattle. His growing role is something fantasy managers should not be ignoring. And if you've been streaming tight ends, it's time to stop playing musical chairs. Johnson is commanding a meaningful usage and producing every week. So you're going to maybe stream for one more week because they're heading into their bye. But afterwards, if you have him in your lineup, I think it's a pretty safe call. Moving forward, I could see him being a top 10 finisher at the position. 92 receiving yards, week 10, his best mark ever. 10 plus fantasy points in 4 straight games, showing consistent usage here. 61 targets through 10 games, not bad, but now with some better situations around him, I don't think he's going to be a streaming option. I think he's somebody that you're going to want to have in your lineup with that defined production. So yeah, get your Juwan Johnson, folks.
Yeah, that's the target share that Koopa Fiasco, Andrew Cooper, the tight end guru, he calls for a specific tight end share for the tight ends that he wants on the back end, and Juwan Johnson is sitting right there. Also, another profile that Andrew Cooper loves is converted wide receivers to tight end, and Juwan Johnson is one of those. So, yeah, wheels up on Juwan Johnson.
That's awesome. And before Bigz, you get into your wide receiver guys, I'll get you to talk about your running back. So, folks, if you really want to get a hold of who Bigz wants to get on his waiver wire, he's been talking about both these guys for quite a while, for years now. So stay tuned to the end of the show here and pick up his guys. So why don't you talk about your running back, Bigz, before you get into your spotlight?
That was a clumsy teaser, but a good one nonetheless. My running back ad is Keaton Mitchell. He's currently available in 99% of ESPN leagues. The last couple weeks, I've talked about running backs, and I've talked about how hard it is to get running backs on the waiver wire because the ones that are available are not the ones that are primary. They're not starting. So essentially what you're doing when you're picking up a running back on waivers is you're making a bet that something may happen to somebody in front of them. And Keaton Mitchell is that. Derrick Henry is there in Baltimore. He's ahead of Keaton Mitchell. Justice Hill also gets some run, but Keaton Mitchell is explosive. And we saw what happened with Travion Henderson once he got an opportunity to show off his explosiveness. It resulted in a huge game for him. Keaton Mitchell is the same kind of running back in that he's super explosive. He's super fast. When he gets into open field, like he's deadly. So it's an insurance policy that you can stash. It's not necessarily somebody who's going to help you now, but the upside is there. And let's face it, the running back waiver wire is pretty bare. Anybody who's a contributor is probably already scooped up. So you're making a bet on what could happen in the future. And Keaton Mitchell is as good as anybody else to make a bet on.
All right. Yeah, there you have it. I mean, he's an underrated gem here that could have a lot of upside down the stretch if the Baltimore Ravens get into some battles here. They're 4-5, and they need every win possible down the stretch here. And they're looking like a team to beat in the AFC right now with so much ambiguity down the line here. So let's move on here to my running back pickup, and he is going to be my spotlight. So I'm going to run my video. Now, he's only available in 30% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues, but that is still a shocking amount of leagues that he's still available in. That's 2/3 of leagues right now he's gobbled up in, but a third of you get him if he's still around. He's the kind of waiver gem that could quietly win you a playoff spot. Bijan Robinson headlines the Falcons offense, but it's slowly becoming a situation here worth noting because Algier is dominating the red zone carries and the short yardage work for the Atlanta Falcons. The fantasy touches that actually matter right now, and it's really hurting all my Bijan shares. His workload has remained steady. He's been Atlanta's designated closer in tight games, pounding the ball late and converting drives into points. Even in a split backfield, his usage gives him more standalone value with a massive upside if Bijan were ever to miss time. And Atlanta's offense is built around running the ball. 6 touchdowns, already a career high this year. That's tied for 6th in the NFL in total rushing scores, 4 more red zone scores than Bijan Robinson. That's, mind-blowing to me, but I guess they see what they see, and he's been efficient doing it. 3 of 6 touchdowns have come in the fourth quarter, so kind of like a grinding kind of player here. He's a fantasy version of your closer, a steady, powerful, lethal guy when it matters most. He's not flashy, but he keeps your team and your playoff hopes alive on the one-line plunge one time at a time here. So, Bigz, I'm looking to get on the Tyler Argiel train if you haven't got him in your lineup or on your roster.
Absolutely, especially if something happens to Bijan Robinson. But he does have standalone value. 2 touchdowns on Sunday. I mean, Raheem Morris is a football terrorist.
It's like that's all they hire there in Atlanta. It was an Arthur Smith, and now it's Raheem Morris, and these guys are completely demolishing our Bijan shares that we were so hopeful at the beginning of this year that maybe it was his full-on backfield, but it's not the case. They're keeping their stud healthy. Okay, Bigz, let's get into your spotlight, my friend.
All right, it is with extreme pride that I start off. Let me backtrack a little bit. Cedric Tillman is available in 86% of leagues. Dylan Gabriel was looking for him all game against the Jets, even though the Browns lost. And I'm super high on Cedric Tillman. He's a better wide receiver than Jerry Jeudy. When he was healthy and on the field with Jeudy last year, he was the target leader. So he's the primary straw that stirs the drink in that offense. So go ahead and go pick him up. He's just back from injury, and they're looking to put the ball in his hands. But my big wide receiver ad this week, and this is kind of tongue-in-cheek. I've been waiting for this guy. He was a rookie in 2022, so this is his 4th season in the NFL. He has had the worst luck in terms of team around him, opportunity, injury history, severe concussion, started off his career with a hamstring pull, which kept him limited. Terrible quarterback play his entire time in Tennessee. Now he goes to Washington, and Treylon Burks is he's coming, folks. A couple weeks ago, he had a 14 yards per catch total, and this week he got 3 targets, 3 catches. He has talent. It's just been subdued for the last 4 years. Now he has an opportunity in a Washington offense that is missing Terry McLaurin. It's a new start for him. We said for 3 years that if he could get out of Tennessee, he could showcase his talent. So go ahead and take a shot on Treylon Burks. He's definitely post-hype, and nobody's talking about him. So I'm going to talk about him, and I'm going to tell you, go pick up Treylon Burks. Might be a nothing burger, but it's worth a shot.
I don't know. I saw what he looked like. He didn't look bad. I think, in an opportunity here, like this could be a second coming of him and a second chance, and I'm rooting for him too, Bigz. And I think you're onto something here. I think there could be some sneaky upside there. Debo does not look at the shade of his former self. They could maybe use Treylon in a similar kind of role, and maybe that could be the role he evolves into. He's a bigger power guy. He could get downfield, and that the ability that we see in guys like that. I'm excited to see what he could do, maybe with a Jaden Daniels. So if he can get some steam here, they might resign him into next year, and then you never know, right? The Commanders are going to have some draft capital, so you got to think they're going to bring in some sort of high-end wide receiver, either through the draft or pay up to get one. We'll see what happens. But it's an interesting scenario here for Treylon Burks. So, folks, tail Bigz here. I think he's onto something there, both with Tillman and Burks, and a guy that I think also definitely deserves some steam here, and a little more own than the guys that Bigz have been talking about here. But still available in 44% of ESPN leagues and 41% in Yahoo leagues, and it's Trey Tucker's time is now. Jacoby Myers traded to Jacksonville. He stepped into a full-time role with the Raiders offense that desperately needs speed and separation. And his first outing as a wide receiver one, it didn't break the box scores by any means, but he's been known to be able to show that he could have a monster game. He's had a game of 3 touchdowns this season, and if you show that, you know there's more of that where that came from. He's gone from a rotational gadget guy to leading the team in targets and yards, and he gives the team, well, outside of Brock Bowers, obviously, he gives them a weekly boom potential. He may not be a target hog, but he is averaging 7.2 yard targets per game since, well, I mean, that was last week, but that's not too bad. And then he logged 15.6 average depth of target. That's top 20 in the NFL. 21% target share in those last 3 contests, so gaining steam, and I think that number is only going to go up now. He's flying under the radar, and I think next week he's got a dream matchup as well. So I think get him on your lineup, and you might even be able to start him right away here if he's still available in your league.
The thing about Trey Tucker, and I called him a third-year breakout candidate, and he's currently in the top 36. So I think that was a good call by me. Way to go. And he's got Dallas next week, which should be a shootout. He could have an absolute explosive game, kind of like what he did in Washington, where he had 3 touchdowns and 145 yards, finished as wide receiver 1. The problem, though, is that week 12, he gets Cleveland, 13, he gets the Chargers, 14 against Denver, 15 Philly, 16 Houston, and he finishes it up. If you make it to the championship, you'll have him against the New York Giants, but their schedule rest of the season is an absolute monster. And like I said on the show before, I don't think the Raiders are going to win another game this year. And we saw what happened. Tucker didn't have a great game against Denver because the offense couldn't get going. And if this offense can't get going, then there's not a lot of deep stuff to Trey Tucker. I do like his target share, and there is some upside there. But rough schedule coming up.
Yeah, rough schedule, but I mean, a guy that, wasn't in your lineup or on your roster, he's certainly worth a look. And even in some of those tougher matchups where they're going to be playing from behind, one connection and he could hit. So keep him around, keep an eye on him, and look for us on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. Bigz, what else we got going on headed into week 11 on the slate?
Well, let me tell you, Thursday night, we have Points After Thursday. That's a live stream, starts and sits show, where we recap the Thursday night game and answer your questions. That's me and Grindberg. Friday is our sits show. Saturday is our starts show. Sunday is Breakfast with Bigz, followed by Spilled Coffee, so check that out. The Dynasty Pulse, that'll drop sometime this weekend. Dynasty show, featuring all of your favorite hosts. Like and subscribe, hit the bell, stick around if you're a new subscriber, and we hope you win.
Hope you win. Hope you get some help here on your waivers this week. Tough stretch ahead of us. Buys are almost through. Only got 2 this week, so teams are getting healthier. Hopefully, we're through the injury bugs, and we get good news on Gats and Dart as we head into week 11 here. All right, folks. From all of us in FSAN, hope you win.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com.